Filthy animals don't belong in first class. Go back where you came from." The flight attendant didn't blink as she tipped the glass, sending a thick stream of red wine pouring straight down the front of Simone's blouse, the stains spreading fast while laughter cracked from the galley behind her. "Probably can't even read the boarding pass," a crew member muttered. "They always try to sneak up here." Simone didn't flinch. Wine dripped from the fabric in slow, steady drops, but her boarding pass remained firm between her fingers. Renee stood in the aisle with her phone raised, recording every humiliating second. The attendant leaned in closer, her smile sharp and satisfied. "Know your place." She had no idea the quiet woman she'd just called an animal had the authority to ground this aircraft instantly and decide exactly who would never fly again. Before continuing, comment where in the world you are watching from and make sure to subscribe, because tomorrow's story is one you can't miss. The jet bridge stretched before Simone Hart like a long, fluorescent-lit tunnel. She adjusted her plain navy blazer and gripped her tablet closer, watching the scene unfold ahead. Two gate agents beamed at a group of passengers, their voices carrying down the narrow passage. "Welcome aboard. First time to Seattle? You'll love it," one agent practically sang to a blonde woman juggling shopping bags. "Let me help you with those." Simone kept her pace steady, observing. When she reached the agents, their smiles dimmed slightly. One gave a perfunctory nod while the other barely glanced up from the scanner. No offers of assistance, no cheerful banter. Just the mechanical beep of her boarding pass being processed. The contrast wasn't surprising. After 20 years in aviation technology and safety compliance, Simone had seen this dance before. She made a mental note, her thumb discreetly activating the recording app on her phone. At the aircraft door, Renee Daly stood like a nightclub bouncer in navy polyester, scanning each approaching passenger with sharp eyes. Her perfectly arranged scarf and gleaming wings pin screamed senior flight attendant, but her stance said something else entirely. Power, control, selection. "Welcome aboard," Renee chirped to the shopping bag woman, then fell silent as Simone approached. No greeting, just a quick up-down glance that dismissed her designer carry-on and crisp white silk blouse in an instant. Simone moved past, cataloging details, badge positions, name tags, the way Ty Vance lounged in the forward galley, sharing some private joke with another crew member. His smirk followed her down the aisle. Captain Elena Rios's voice came over the speakers, professional and measured. "Flight attendants, please prepare for departure and cross-check." At least someone was focused on procedure. Simone found her seat in 12A, stowing her carry-on efficiently. She pulled out her tablet, opening a blank document. Timestamps, personnel positions, service cart locations, security camera angles, all the small things that built a complete operational picture. The pre-departure service began. Renee moved through first class with practiced grace, offering bottles of water with a flourish. "Something to drink before we take off?" But when she reached Simone's row, Renee's eyes skipped right past. No offer, no acknowledgement, just smooth motion to the next passenger. "Water, sir?" 3 rows back, an older black man caught Simone's attention. His weathered face and observant eyes spoke of decades reading rooms just like this one. Lawson Greer. Their gazes met briefly, and he gave a slight nod. He saw it too. The patterns, the subtle lines being drawn. Simone added another note to her tablet. This wasn't just about her firm's new operations software rollout anymore. The compliance issues were already obvious, wrapped in practiced smiles and selective service. She pulled up the airline's current service standards on her tablet. Pre-departure beverage service. All passengers in premium cabins to be offered water or juice. No exceptions listed. Another policy violation to document. The cabin filled quickly. Simone noticed how Renee directed certain passengers to switch seats for weight and balance, while others were left alone. How Ty's laughter from the galley grew louder whenever someone struggled with the overhead bins. Small cruelties, barely visible unless you knew where to look. Simone's phone continued recording, catching snippets of conversation. These people never know their seats. At least it's not a full flight. Watch this one. She kept her expression neutral, adding timestamps and quotations to her notes. The airline's new compliance software was supposed to flag service disparities and crew behavior patterns. Based on what she'd seen in just 15 minutes, it had plenty to work with. A shadow fell across her tablet. Simone looked up to find Renee standing there, wine bottle in hand. The timing was wrong. They hadn't even closed the door yet. Beverage service wasn't supposed to start until reaching cruise altitude. Another violation. Renee's smile was bright and sharp as broken glass. Wine, ma'am? The condescension in that ma'am could have filled an entire drinks cart. Behind her, Ty watched from the galley, phone half raised like he was waiting for something entertaining to happen. Simone didn't react to the bait. She simply kept typing, documenting each detail. Time, position, procedural violations, crew attitudes. Her sister Naomi's words from that morning echoed in her mind. Don't let them make you small. The cabin pressure seemed to shift as Renee stood there, wine bottle hovering, smile fixed in place. She clearly expected either confrontation or submission. Simone offered neither, continuing her notes with calm precision. Through the gallery window, the morning sun cast long shadows across the tarmac. Ground crew moved efficiently around the aircraft. Everything outside followed careful protocols and safety procedures. Inside, Simone watched those same procedures being casually discarded, replaced by something much uglier. The intercom crackled, Captain Rios requesting final cabin preparation. Renee's smile tightened fractionally, but she didn't move. The wine bottle tilted slightly, almost casually, above Simone's pristine white blouse. Renee Daly leaned over Simone's seat, the wine bottle hovering uncomfortably close. Other passengers squeezed past in the narrow aisle, but Renee didn't move back. She just kept pressing forward, crowding Simone's space with practiced intimidation. "I insist," Renee said, her voice sticky sweet. "Our first-class passengers always enjoy a pre-departure drink." Before Simone could decline, Renee's hand jerked forward. The dark red liquid arced through the air in slow motion. It splashed across Simone's white silk blouse, spreading like a blooming stain across her chest and lap. The cold liquid soaked through instantly, clinging to her skin. "Oh, no!" Renee's gasp was theatrical, too loud to be genuine. What a terrible accident. From the galley, sharp laughter erupted. Ty Vance's distinctive bark led the chorus, joined by two other crew members. They didn't even try to hide their amusement, their faces bright with mean delight. "Look at that mess," Ty called out, phone raised slightly. "Gonna need more than a few napkins for that one." Simone remained still, her hands carefully placed on her armrests. She watched a drop of wine roll down her tablet screen, leaving a crimson trail. Her breath stayed measured, controlled. "Here, let me help." Renee grabbed a thin cocktail napkin and started dabbing roughly at Simone's blouse. The motion felt more like poking than cleaning. These things happen all the time. "No need to make a fuss." Simone moved back slightly. "Please, stop touching me." Renee's smile hardened. "I'm only trying to help. There's no need to be difficult about an accident." She emphasized the word accident, while looking back toward her laughing colleagues. "We wouldn't want to delay the flight over a little spill, would we?" A woman in the window seat across the aisle watched the scene unfold. Her eyes met Simone's for a brief moment, filled with uncomfortable recognition, before she quickly turned to stare out the window. Another passenger hurried past, carefully avoiding looking at the situation entirely. Lawson Greer leaned forward from his seat 3 rows back. His voice was quiet but clear. "Ma'am, I saw her angle that bottle deliberately. Been watching her sort passengers since boarding. This wasn't no accident." "Sir, please stay out of this," Renee snapped, dropping the sugary tone. She turned back to Simone, voice rising. "Now, if you'll just let me finish cleaning you up." "I need paper towels," Simone stated calmly. And I'd like to speak with the captain, please. Flight attendant, Renee Daly. She pronounced the name clearly, letting her phone's recording catch it. That won't be necessary, Renee said quickly. We're about to push back. We can't bother the captain over a spill. Everyone would be delayed. She reached for Simone's sleeve, pinching the wet silk between her fingers. Just let me... Please, do not touch me again, Simone said, her voice level but firm. I am formally requesting to speak with Captain Rios before departure, as is my right under Section 14.3 of your airline's passenger service commitment. Renee's practiced smile faltered for a moment. There's no need to quote policies at me. I'm trying to help you. Her fingers tightened on Simone's sleeve, tugging like a child demanding attention. Stop being so aggressive. Simone didn't raise her voice or pull away. She simply looked at where Renee was grabbing her clothes and said, Please remove your hand from my person immediately. More laughter erupted from the galley. Ty's voice carried clearly. Someone can't take a joke. Simone reached into her carry-on with deliberate calmness, pulling out a pack of tissues. She began dabbing at the wine stain methodically, her movements precise and unhurried. Her tablet lay on the tray table, screen still illuminated. Without looking up, she opened a new document and began typing. Flight 2317, Gate C4, time of incident, 8:47 a.m. FA Renee Daly, badge number 4601, lead FA Ty Vance, badge number 4872, physical contact initiated, 8:49 a.m. witness in 15C, Mr. Lawson Greer galley crew witnesses. Her fingers moved steadily across the screen, documenting every detail while the wine soaked deeper into her clothes. She noted the positions of security cameras, the names visible on crew badges, the exact words used. The laughter from the galley continued, but she didn't react. She just kept typing. The cabin buzzed with uncomfortable energy. Some passengers stared straight ahead, pretending not to notice. Others whispered behind their hands, shooting furtive glances at the scene. Through it all, Simone maintained her composure, adding timestamps and seat numbers to her growing report. Renee hovered nearby, her confident demeanor cracking slightly as she watched Simone document everything. The flight attendant's hands clenched around the empty wine bottle, knuckles white with tension. You're making this into something it's not, Renee insisted, but her voice had lost some of its sugar-coating. It was just an accident. Right, Ty? Total accident, Ty called back, still grinning. Some people just love to cause problems. Simone continued typing, noting down their exact quotes with timestamps. She didn't engage with their provocations or show any reaction to their attempts to rattle her. She simply kept building her record, one precise detail at a time, while the red stain spread across her expensive blouse. The cabin hummed with uncomfortable silence. Simone Hart stood carefully in the aisle, trying to minimize the wine's spread across her clothes. Renee Daly planted herself directly in front of Simone, arms crossed, smile fixed in place like a mask. Ma'am, you really need to return to your seat, Renee said, her voice dripping with artificial concern. Standing here is a safety issue. I'm preventing the wine from spreading further, Simone replied evenly. I'll need paper towels and the incident report form. Oh, we don't need forms for a simple accident. Renee's smile tightened. I can bring you some club soda. That'll fix it right up. A young flight attendant trainee hovered nearby, watching the scene with wide eyes. Her name tag read, Sarah. Sarah, Simone said calmly, could you please bring me the standard incident form? It should be in the manual under Section 14.3. Before Sarah could move, Renee cut in. That won't be necessary. Sarah, why don't you help prepare for departure instead? Ty Vance emerged from the galley, his large frame filling the space. What's the holdup here? We've got a schedule to keep. This passenger is being somewhat difficult about a small spill, Renee announced, loud enough for nearby seats to hear. Simone noticed several passengers shifting uncomfortably, some pulling out phones to record. Perfect. Let them document. Some people just look for a lawsuit, Ty said, his voice carrying deliberately through the cabin. Probably planned it. Simone kept her voice steady. I am formally requesting escalation under Section 14.3 of your airline's harassment and contamination protocols. This requires immediate notification of the lead purser and captain. Renee's practiced smile flickered. There's no need for that kind of language. Harassment? We're trying to help you. Yeah, Ty added, leaning against a seat. Nobody likes troublemakers who slow down the whole flight. Sarah, the trainee, edged closer to Simone while Renee was distracted by Ty. Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. They have a group chat where they plan these pranks. This isn't the first time. Simone gave a slight nod, careful not to react visibly. She pulled out her phone, switched it to airplane mode, and verified her recordings were saved locally. Nothing could be remotely deleted now. Ma'am, Renee's voice grew sharper. You're disrupting the boarding process. Either accept our help or what? Lawson Greer's calm voice cut through the tension. The elderly man had his own phone out, openly recording. Careful how you finish that sentence, young lady. I've got my pen ready to write down every word. He pulled out an air sickness bag and began writing. Time, 8:52 a.m. Witness statement regarding deliberate wine spill and subsequent intimidation attempts. Sir, you can't, Renee started. Actually, I can, Greer replied. 30 years as a union rep taught me plenty about documentation. Would you like me to read back what I've seen so far? Other passengers were watching now, the scene impossible to ignore. Renee's professional mask cracked further. This is ridiculous, she snapped. You're both being completely unreasonable over nothing. Nothing? Simone gestured to her soaked blouse. This nothing was deliberate contamination of a passenger with a liquid substance. Section 14.3 requires immediate reporting of such incidents. It was an accident, Ty insisted, but his smirk had faded. The laughter from the galley suggested otherwise, Simone noted. As did the phone you were holding up to record it, Mr. Vance. Sarah, the trainee, had retrieved an incident form despite Renee's glare. She held it out with trembling hands. Thank you, Sarah, Simone said kindly, accepting the form. She turned to Renee. Now, as a passenger experiencing harassment, I have the right to speak with your lead purser immediately. Would you like to call them? Or shall I use the call button? You're making a huge mistake, Renee hissed, dropping all pretense of courtesy. The mistake, Simone replied, was assuming I would stay quiet. She pulled out her tablet and opened an encrypted messaging app. Her fingers moved swiftly across the screen, composing a brief message with precise technical language. Greer continued writing his statement, speaking each word aloud. Flight attendant Renee Daly refused multiple requests for incident documentation. Crew member Ty Vance made threatening implications. Simone finished her message and reached for her phone. She dialed a number from memory, holding the phone to her ear, while maintaining direct eye contact with Renee. This is Dr. Simone Hart, she said into the phone, her voice carrying the quiet authority she'd held back until now. I'm on flight 23117 at gate C4. I need to initiate an immediate Type 3 compliance hold under Protocol 89C. She paused, listening briefly. Yes, I have documentation. No, this cannot wait until after departure. I understand the implications completely. The cabin fell silent enough to hear a pin drop. Even Ty's aggressive posture faltered as he watched Simone's calm demeanor. The authorization code is Delta 749 Echo, Simone continued, her words precise and measured. You'll find my clearance level sufficient for this action. The intercom crackled overhead, making several passengers jump. Captain Elena Rios's measured voice filled the cabin. Ground operations, this is Flight 2317, holding position at Gate C4. Canceling pushback clearance. Stand by for further instructions. The sudden announcement shattered the crew's composure. Renee's practiced smile flickered, her eyes darting between Simone and her phone. Ty Vance stepped back into the galley, his earlier swagger evaporating as he whispered urgently to another flight attendant. Simone remained standing, dabbing at her wine-soaked blouse with paper towels. She hadn't raised her voice once, hadn't caused a scene. Yet somehow, the entire aircraft felt frozen in amber. Waiting. Renee approached again, her heels clicking deliberately on the cabin floor. Her voice dripped honey, but her eyes were sharp. "I feel like we got off on the wrong foot here. Maybe we could start over?" She leaned in closer, invading Simone's space. "Who are you, really?" Simone met her gaze steadily, but didn't answer. Instead, she continued documenting the incident on her tablet, each tap of her stylus deliberate and precise. A distinctive ping echoed from the crew's handheld devices. Renee's phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, and her perfectly maintained facade cracked as she read the screen. The color drained from her face. "What is it?" Ty called from the galley, his voice carrying an edge of worry. It's a compliance hold," Renee whispered, then louder. "A system-wide compliance hold. But that's impossible. That would need executive level." "Check your operational alerts," Simone said quietly, not looking up from her tablet. Section 89C, paragraph 4. Immediate suspension of departure clearance pending investigation of reported passenger harassment during boarding procedures. Ty emerged from the galley again, his earlier confidence replaced by visible anxiety. He pulled Renee aside, speaking in harsh whispers. "This is bad. This is really bad. That's not a normal customer service flag. That's coming from the safety system itself." "It's nothing," Renee insisted, but her voice wavered. She turned to nearby passengers, attempting to regain control of the narrative. "Please don't worry. Some people are just more sensitive to these situations. We'll have this sorted out quickly." Several passengers shifted uncomfortably, avoiding eye contact. The atmosphere in the cabin had changed. The earlier laughter from the crew now felt hollow, even cruel in retrospect. Lawson Greer stood up slowly, his tall frame commanding attention despite his age. Without a word, he positioned himself between Simone and the crew, creating a physical barrier that forced them to maintain their distance. His presence was calm, but unmistakably protective, born from decades of standing between workers and intimidation. "Ma'am," he addressed Renee, "I believe you should step back now. My witness statement already includes several attempts at intimidation. Would you like to add another?" The intercom crackled again. Captain Rios's voice had taken on a more formal tone. "Ground operations, requesting immediate return to gate for operational verification. Please have a gate agent and operations supervisor meet us at the jet bridge." "This is ridiculous," Renee said, but her words lacked conviction now. "It was just a spill. Just an accident." "Was it?" Greer asked mildly, holding up his detailed notes. "Because I counted 3 separate times you positioned that wine bottle at an unusual angle during approach. Would you like me to read back the exact timestamps?" Sarah, the trainee flight attendant, had pressed herself against the far wall, watching the scene unfold with wide eyes. She clutched her manual to her chest like a shield. The massive aircraft began to move, but instead of pushing back from the gate, it rolled forward. The jet bridge's shadow fell across the windows again as ground crew guided the plane back to its starting position. The mechanical whir of the bridge extending toward the aircraft door seemed to echo the crew's declining control of the situation. Ty paced the galley, repeatedly checking his phone. "This can't be happening. They can't just... The whole system is locked. Everything's flagged." "Because it should be," Simone said, her voice carrying clearly despite its quietness. "Harassment isn't a customer service issue. It's a safety issue." The jet bridge connected with a solid thunk that made Renee flinch. Through the windows, passengers could see multiple airline personnel rushing down the bridge, their reflective vests bright in the morning sun. "You're making a massive mistake," Renee tried one last time, but the earlier music of cruelty had left her voice. Now she just sounded afraid. "No," Simone replied, finally looking up from her tablet. The mistake was thinking laughter at someone else's humiliation would have no consequences. The aircraft door opened with a hydraulic hiss, and the cheerful morning light that had witnessed the crew's earlier amusement now illuminated their growing realization that something had gone terribly wrong. Their jokes, their staged accident, their confident assumption of impunity, all of it was about to face something they hadn't counted on: accountability. The aircraft door swung open with practiced efficiency. 3 airline security officers in dark uniforms entered first, followed by a gate supervisor in a crisp blazer and an operations manager whose name tag read Matthews. Behind them, a small crowd of ground staff gathered at the jet bridge entrance, their reflective vests creating a wall of fluorescent yellow. Passengers shifted in their seats, many pulling out phones despite the no photography policy. The cabin hummed with whispered speculation and the subtle clicks of camera apps opening. Simone Hart stood in the aisle, her white silk blouse still darkened with spreading wine stains. She hadn't bothered to cover the damage with her blazer. The evidence needed to be visible. "I'm filing a formal harassment incident," she announced, her voice carrying clearly without being raised. "I have witness statements, timestamps, and recorded evidence of intentional misconduct by crew members Renee Daly and Ty Vance." The operations manager stepped forward, already forming what looked like a practiced response, until he actually saw Simone's face. His professional mask slipped, revealing naked shock. "Dr. Hart," he stammered. We weren't informed you were on this flight." "That was the point, Mr. Matthews," Simone replied. "My firm is conducting a compliance audit of your new safety protocols. Instead, I witnessed deliberate passenger harassment and documented multiple policy violations." A ripple of murmurs spread through the cabin as passengers began connecting dots. Several people were openly Googling now, phones illuminating faces with blue light. Captain Elena Rios appeared from the cockpit, her posture rigid with protocol awareness. "Operations, I need to confirm. Is this compliance lock legitimate?" "Yes," Matthews said quickly. "Dr. Hart's firm holds majority stake in our operational software and safety certification. Any harassment report from her automatically triggers system-wide verification." He turned to Simone. "We can discuss this privately." "No," Simone cut him off smoothly. "This happens here, on record." She faced the crew. "Ms. Daly, Mr. Vance, please identify yourselves for the incident report." Renee stepped forward, tears suddenly brimming in her eyes. Her voice wavered with practiced vulnerability. "This is all a terrible misunderstanding. I would never intentionally—" "Save the performance," Lawson Greer interrupted from his seat. "I've got 3 pages of notes on your deliberate positioning and timing, plus the laughter from your colleague there." He nodded toward Ty, who had pressed himself against the galley wall. "It was just a joke," Ty protested weakly. "We were just having fun. Nobody got hurt." "Fun?" Simone's question landed like a stone in still water. "You staged the humiliation of a passenger for entertainment. You created a hostile environment. You violated multiple safety and conduct policies. And you documented it all in your crew group chat." Renee's fake tears vanished. "How did you—" "Your trainee has ethics," Simone stated. "She showed me screenshots." She turned to Matthews. "I want them removed from duty immediately, pending termination for documented misconduct." "Now, hold on," Ty started, but Matthews was already nodding to security. "Ms. Daly, Mr. Vance, surrender your badges and follow these officers. Any personal items can be retrieved from crew services later." "You can't do this," Renee protested, her voice rising. "We have union protection." "The union protects workers' rights," Greer spoke up again. "Not orchestrated harassment. I should know. I represented flight crews for 30 years. The security officers moved with quiet efficiency, positioning themselves around Renee and Ty. No handcuffs, no drama. Just the clear expectation of compliance. "This is ridiculous," Renee tried one last time, looking around for support. But the other flight attendants stayed back, faces carefully blank. The passengers who had laughed earlier now studied their phones intently. Ty seemed to deflate, reality finally sinking in. He unpinned his wings and name badge, dropping them into an officer's outstretched hand. After a moment's hesitation, Renee did the same. The walk of shame was anticlimactic, but powerful. No shouting, no resistance, just two crew members being escorted onto the jet bridge while a plane full of passengers watched justice unfold in real time. Several people filmed despite the policy, unwilling to miss this rare moment of immediate accountability. Captain Rios conferred quietly with Matthews, likely discussing crew replacement protocols. The remaining flight attendants began distributing water bottles, a standard gesture during delays. A new figure burst through the jet bridge door, slightly out of breath. Her tailored suit and corporate ID badge screamed, "Damage control." "Dr. Hart," she said, smoothing her hair. "I'm Amanda Wells from Corporate Relations. If we could step into the terminal to discuss this privately." "No," Simone replied, just as calm as before. "Any discussion happens through proper channels, with my legal team present." "We value your partnership," Wells pressed on, lowering her voice. "Surely we can resolve this without—" "Without what?" Simone asked. "Without accountability? Without consequences? Without addressing the fact that your crew turned passenger harassment into entertainment?" Wells flinched at the word harassment being said so publicly, her eyes darting to the filming passengers. "Please, let's take this somewhere more appropriate." "This is exactly where it needs to be," Simone stated. "In full view, on record, with witnesses." She held up her tablet. "Just like your company's own compliance policies require." The airport conference room felt like an aquarium, all glass walls and filtered air, with curious eyes peering in from the terminal. Simone sat straight-backed in an ergonomic chair, wearing a crisp white blouse borrowed from Sarah, a gate agent who had whispered, "I'm so sorry," while handing it over. The stained silk lay carefully folded in a plastic bag, preserved as evidence. Mara Klein entered like a gentle breeze, her Hermes scarf floating behind her as she closed the door. Everything about her radiated practiced warmth, from her pearl earrings to her sympathetic smile. She carried a leather portfolio embossed with the airline's logo, placing it on the glass table with theatrical care. "Dr. Hart," Mara's voice dripped concern. "I can't express how disappointed we are about this unfortunate situation. May I get you anything? Water? Coffee?" "No, thank you," Simone replied evenly. "I prefer to proceed directly." Of course. Mara settled into her chair, arranging herself like someone staging a photograph. "We value you deeply, as a partner and guest. This has clearly been a misunderstanding that spiraled out of control." "A misunderstanding?" Simone kept her tone neutral. "Please explain how deliberately pouring wine on a passenger qualifies as a misunderstanding." Mara's smile didn't waver. "Now, that's quite an accusation. We should be careful about assuming intent." She opened her portfolio, pulling out a stack of papers. "We have several options to help us move forward productively." She laid out documents one by one, like dealing cards. "First, we're prepared to offer generous compensation for any cleaning bills or replacement clothing. Additionally, we'd like to provide you with lifetime premium status and unlimited upgrade vouchers." "No," Simone said simply. Mara blinked, her rhythm disrupted. "I'm sorry. I'm not interested in compensation or vouchers. I want a formal investigation conducted by an independent party. I want all security footage preserved. And I want written accountability for what occurred." "Dr. Hart," Mara leaned forward, lowering her voice conspiratorially. "Surely we can handle this more diplomatically. These demands would create unnecessary complications." "Unnecessary for whom?" Mara's smile tightened fractionally. She pulled another document from her folder. "Our initial incident report has already been filed. According to crew statements, there was unexpected turbulence during beverage service." "Turbulence?" Simone's eyebrows rose. "The aircraft was parked at the gate. It never moved." "Well, sometimes air pockets." "Ms. Klein," Simone interrupted. "Are you actually suggesting that localized turbulence occurred only during the exact moment wine was being served, exclusively affecting my seat, while the aircraft was stationary. Mara's pleasant expression didn't crack. We understand you may have perceived events differently in the heat of the moment. Emotions can color our memories. The tactic was familiar. Rewrite reality quickly, make the target doubt themselves, shame them into silence. Simone had seen it deployed against others countless times. She reached for her tablet. "I'd like Mr. Greer to join us now," she said, pressing the intercom button. "He's waiting outside." Mara's smile flickered. "That's not necessary." But Lawson Greer was already entering, his presence filling the room despite his careful movements. He nodded to Simone and took a seat. "Mr. Greer claims to have witnessed the incident," Mara said smoothly. "Though at his age, in a crowded cabin, it would be understandable if details were confused." "I may be old," Greer replied, "but my memory and eyesight work just fine. Would you like me to describe exactly how Ms. Daly positioned herself? Or should I start with Mr. Vance's commentary from the galley?" Simone opened a document on her tablet. "I'm submitting a formal evidence preservation request. I need names and positions of all staff present, including ground crew and gate agents." She looked up. "And I require Captain Rios's cockpit log." As if summoned, Elena Rios appeared at the conference room door, still in her uniform. She hesitated, conflict visible in her posture. "Captain," Mara said warmly, "we don't need to disturb you." "Actually," Simone interjected, "we do. Captain Rios, I need your official statement regarding aircraft position and conditions at the time of the incident." Elena's hands tightened on her hat. She looked between Simone and Mara, duty warring with self-preservation. "The aircraft," she began slowly, "was parked at gate C4. Engines were off. We had not begun pushback procedures." She straightened her shoulders. "There was no turbulence. That would have been physically impossible in those conditions." Mara's smile turned razor-sharp. "Captain, why don't we discuss this privately?" "Everything stays on record," Simone stated firmly. "No private discussions." Mara's pleasant mask slipped for just a moment, revealing something harder underneath. She leaned closer to Simone, voice dropping to a silky whisper. "Dr. Hart, I hope you understand. We can make this very hard for you." Simone's phone buzzed against the glass table, the screen lighting up with an unexpected notification. She glanced down, keeping her expression carefully neutral. The hotel room's silence pressed against Simone's temples as she spread her evidence across the desk. Greer's careful handwriting on airline stationery, her tablet displaying the incident log, and her phone with its damning audio recordings. The burgundy stain on her silk blouse had dried to a dull brown, the fabric stiff and ruined, a physical reminder of calculated cruelty. She picked up her phone and called Naomi. Her sister answered on the first ring. "I saw the news alert," Naomi said. "You okay?" "I'm fine." Simone rubbed her forehead. "Just tired of the same old playbook." "Mm-hmm. Let me guess. They offered you hush money dressed up as compensation?" "Lifetime premium status," Simone said dryly. "Like upgraded seats would make me forget being humiliated." "Classic move." Naomi's voice carried decades of weary recognition. "Remember when they tried to give Daddy store credit after that security guard followed him around?" "For 3 hours," Simone finished, then claimed he misunderstood their customer service. "Same pattern. Different decade." Naomi sighed. "They always protect the institution first. Make the target feel crazy for speaking up." Simone's tablet chimed with an incoming email. "My legal team's ready. I'm triggering the audit clause in our contract." "Good. Hit them where it hurts." The paperwork. Simone opened her laptop to draft the formal notice when her phone buzzed with an anonymous message. Her breath caught as she opened the attachment. Screenshots from a crew group chat filled her screen, the timestamps showing messages sent just before boarding began. Renee had written, asking who was ready for some content, and Ty replied that it was finally going to be fun on this route. Renee then said she was thinking of painting someone's blouse today, to which Ty answered, telling her to make it count. Several messages had been deleted in between, but the thread resumed with Renee announcing she had found the perfect target and describing the passenger as looking stuck up, followed by Ty telling her to get the phone ready. Simone's hands were steady as she forwarded the screenshots to her digital forensics team. "Document everything," she wrote. "Preserve metadata. Verify authenticity." She opened a new document and began mapping the evidence chain. Which crew members had galley access, camera positions, potential recording angles. Her phone lit up with a text from Greer. Overheard crew member in terminal saying, "Delete the thread. Evidence at risk." Simone pulled up the airline's operations software documentation, her firm's product. She knew every line of code, every compliance trigger, every audit hook. She began drafting the formal notice that would freeze their entire system for review. The hotel room's air conditioning hummed as she typed, "Precise and methodical. Pursuant to Section 7.3 of the Safety Systems Agreement, this notice triggers an immediate compliance audit based on documented harassment with suspected systematic concealment." She listed the violations clinically, identifying intentional passenger endangerment, discriminatory conduct, evidence tampering, false incident reporting, creation of a hostile environment, and breach of established safety protocols, each charge aligned with specific clauses that carried enforceable consequences. Each item corresponded to specific clauses that could halt operations. The airline had signed these terms, never expecting their majority stakeholder to be on the receiving end of their crew's content. Her phone buzzed again, her forensics team confirming the screenshot's authenticity but noting signs of deleted messages. They'd need server access to recover the full thread. Simone remembered Renee's smirk as the wine spilled, Ty's performance of concern masking laughter. She thought of other passengers who might have faced similar pranks, people who didn't have access to legal teams, audit clauses, or the leverage to demand accountability. Then she reviewed her documentation one final time, confirming that everything was in order. Greer's signed witness statement, the preserved audio recordings, her meticulously time-stamped incident log, the crew chat screenshots complete with verified metadata, Captain Rios's written confirmation of the aircraft's position, the formal requests for terminal camera footage, and the clearly cited policy violations that tied each act of misconduct to enforceable consequences. The audit trigger would set off a chain reaction. Systems frozen, records locked, complete access required. One button to shake their entire operation. Her tablet chimed with another message, the airline's PR team announcing an internal culture review that would undoubtedly find no wrongdoing. More theater, more institutional protection. Simone's fingers hovered over her keyboard. In the window's reflection, she could see the stained blouse draped over a chair, evidence of their casual cruelty, their assumption of impunity, their belief that power meant never facing consequences. She thought of her brother, lost to another institution's unavoidable accident that was entirely avoidable. Thought of all the times she'd been told to accept apologies that weren't really apologies, compensation that wasn't really justice. The room's silence felt like a witness now as she reviewed the audit trigger one last time. Every word was precise, every citation accurate. One click would start an avalanche they couldn't stop. Her phone lit up with texts from crew members who had seen the news coverage, suddenly eager to clarify what they'd seen. Too late. The truth was in their own messages, their own laughter, their own casual documentation of planned humiliation. The audit notice waited on her screen, cursor blinking at the end of, "This compliance review is hereby initiated, effective immediately upon receipt." Away from the terminal's main bustle, near a dimly lit service corridor, Simone found Captain Elena Rios pacing in her crisp uniform. The captain's shoulders tensed when she saw Simone approach, her hands clasped tightly behind her back. "Ms. Hart," Rios said, her voice lower than the overhead announcements about the delayed flight. "I appreciate you meeting somewhere private." Simone nodded, noting the dark circles under the captain's eyes. "Thank you for agreeing to talk. I should have intervened sooner." Rios glanced over her shoulder, checking for corporate observers. "When I heard the laughter from the galley," she shook her head. "But there's so much pressure to keep the schedule. One delay can cascade through the entire system." "I understand operational pressures," Simone said, "but what happened wasn't an accident." Rios's jaw tightened. "No, it wasn't." She lowered her voice further. "HR already called me. They want me to sign their version of events. Turbulence, they said. Even though we were still at the gate. I'm not asking you to be a hero, Captain," Simone said carefully. "I just need facts. What time did we return to gate? What's in your cockpit log? Did you hear any crew members mention filming?" Relief flickered across Rios's face. "I can provide that. Times, positions, radio logs, just the procedural facts. That's all I need. A neutral, accurate statement. They'll still find ways to retaliate," Rios said. "They always do. Last month, another captain filed a maintenance concern. Suddenly his routes got worse, his layovers shorter. Document everything," Simone advised. "Times, names, changes in treatment. My firm's legal team will need witnesses who followed proper channels." Rios nodded slowly. "I'll submit my statement today." "By the book?" She straightened her uniform. "And Ms. Hart? I'm sorry about your blouse. What they did, it was cruel." Simone's phone buzzed as Rios walked away. A notification showed a video going viral. Shaky footage of her standing in the aisle, edited to remove the wine spill and Renee's behavior. The caption read, "Entitled CEO gets workers fired over accident." Comments poured in, each one more pointed than the last. Why couldn't she just accept an apology? Some people love playing victim. Typical rich executive throwing power around. Those poor flight attendants lost their jobs. The coded language was familiar. Subtle enough to seem reasonable. Sharp enough to wound. Simone scrolled through dozens of similar responses, each one dismissing her experience while painting her as the aggressor. Her email pinged with a message from Mara Klein's office. Confidentiality request. In light of ongoing social media activity, we strongly advise against public statements regarding today's incident. The airline is committed to resolving this matter privately. Simone's lips curved slightly. Of course they wanted privacy now. Their narrative was unraveling. She opened her laptop and drafted a response. As a safety and compliance professional with decades of aviation experience, I am requesting transparency, not retribution. Multiple witnesses observed deliberate harassment, which has been documented according to airline procedures. I remain committed to proper investigative channels and fact-based resolution. Calm, professional, and a clear signal that she had evidence. While Twitter raged, Simone sent a formal notice of legal hold to the airline's legal department, requiring that all video footage, communications, crew messages, and incident reports related to Flight 2317 be preserved immediately, with clear warning that any destruction or alteration of relevant materials would result in severe penalties. In the notice, she specified that the preservation order applied to gate security camera recordings, cabin surveillance footage, crew text messages and group chats, radio communications, internal incident reports, passenger complaints, training records, and documentation of prior related incidents. Her phone kept buzzing with notifications as the viral clip spread. Morning shows were picking up the story, framing it as a debate about cancel culture and proportional response, comments sections filled with people who just asked questions about her motives. Another email arrived, this time from her company's board, expressing concerns about public perception and stakeholder relationships. They wanted her to release a conciliatory statement, smooth things over, protect their contracts. Simone thought of Renee's practiced performance, Ty's calculated laughter, Mara's velvet threats. She thought of other passengers who'd faced similar treatment without her resources and position. The terminal windows had darkened to evening. Delayed passengers from her flight crowded the gate area, some shooting irritated glances her way. A few typed on their phones, probably adding to the online chorus of criticism. She could see her reflection in the laptop screen, composed, upright, unmoved by the digital storm. Let them spin their narratives. She had timestamps, witnesses, and legal holds. She had Captain Rios's forthcoming statement and Greer's detailed account. She had the crew's own messages revealing their intent. Simone closed her laptop with a decisive click. The sound was small but final, like a judge's gavel falling. The social media circus could rage on. She would build her case with evidence, not noise. The terminal's fluorescent lights hummed overhead as she gathered her materials. Her stained blouse was now sealed in a legal evidence bag, tagged and dated. Every document was backed up, every witness statement secured. They thought she would crack under pressure, back down to protect her image. They had mistaken her silence for weakness, her calm for surrender. The hotel lobby gleamed with polished marble and false warmth. Simone Hart and Lawson Greer walked past tired business travelers toward a figure sitting alone near a decorative fountain. Patrice Yarrow looked exactly like what she was, a retired investigator who'd seen too much. Her gray hair was pulled back severely, and a battered notebook sat on her lap like a weapon. "Mr. Greer speaks highly of you," Patrice said as they sat, her voice carrying decades of cigarettes and late-night reports. "Says you're not interested in quick settlements." "I want to understand how the system works," Simone replied. "All of it." Patrice's weathered hands opened the notebook. "Then let me show you how complaints disappear." She spread out pages dense with handwritten notes and highlighted sections of airline policy. "It's not about deleting records anymore. That's amateur hour. The real trick is rerouting them." She pointed to a flowchart she'd drawn. Customer files a complaint about crew behavior. First, it gets tagged customer temperament issue instead of crew conduct. That moves it to a different queue entirely. Different department, different metrics, Greer added quietly. "Exactly," Patrice continued. "Then they mark it resolved through passenger relations without ever interviewing witnesses or crew. The complaint technically exists, but good luck finding it without knowing exactly where to look." Simone studied the diagram, her stomach tightening. "This is exactly what our software was supposed to prevent. We built triggers, automated escalations, mandatory investigation protocols, all of which can be overridden by the right access levels," Patrice finished. "Look here." She flipped to another page covered in employee IDs and dates. "You're Renee Daly?" Her name has come up before, 3 times in 18 months, but the complaints vanish behind quick settlements and strategic transfers between bases. "The passengers took the money?" Greer asked. "Most do," Patrice said. "They're tired, embarrassed, just want it to end. The airline knows this. They time their offers perfectly, right when the anger starts to fade and the exhaustion sets in." Simone pulled out her tablet. "Show me the data flow. Who can access what? Which departments can relabel incidents?" For the next hour, they mapped the airline's labyrinth of permissions and procedures. Patrice knew every backdoor, every administrative override. She explained how crew scheduling could hide repeat offenders by constantly moving them between routes and teams. "It's designed to look random," Patrice said, "but it creates perfect deniability. How could there be a pattern? They barely work together." Simone's fingers moved across her tablet, taking detailed notes. "And the documentation?" "Minimal," Patrice replied. "They learned that lesson years ago. Everything's verbal, informal. Let's discuss this offline. We'll handle it internally. The only paper trail is the settlement agreements." Greer leaned forward. "I know 2 former flight attendants. Good people. Left within the past year after similar jokes from certain crews. They'd talk to you, tonight if you want. Better to get statements while everything's fresh." Simone nodded. "Set it up. Secure video calls, recorded with permission. I want their timeline, names, dates, everything they remember." She turned to Patrice. My firm's software integrates with their entire operations stack. Every change leaves a trace. What was modified? When? By whom? I need to pull those audit logs. She called her lead developer, keeping her voice steady despite her growing anger. Marcus, I need you to access all integration points between our compliance system and the airline's incident reporting pipeline. Focus on classification changes, queue reassignments, anything touching complaint categorization. Go back 18 months. Patrice watched her with approval. You're building a case the right way. Slow, solid, documented. The evidence was always there, Simone said. They just counted on no one looking hard enough or having the authority to demand answers. There's one more thing. Patrice reached into her bag and withdrew a folded paper. Internal codes. The unofficial ones they use to bury certain types of complaints. See these patterns? Simone scanned the list. Each entry was innocent-looking. CT for customer temperament, SR for service recovery, PI for passenger interaction. But the combinations told a different story. Certain codes appeared repeatedly with certain types of complaints, creating a shadow classification system. They're engineering discrimination, Simone said softly, building it into the process itself, making it invisible, Greer agreed, until someone knows exactly where to look. And how many complaints get coded this way? Simone asked. Patrice's expression hardened. Too many to be accidents. Look at the dates, the frequencies. This isn't a few bad actors. It's policy by another name. Simone's tablet chimed with preliminary data from her tech team. The numbers backed up Patrice's assessment. Complaint reclassifications spiked at specific times, through specific accounts, following specific patterns. They've been undermining our software's safeguards from the start, Simone realized. Every override, every rerouted complaint, it's all deliberate. And they'll say it's just procedure, Greer said. Just standard customer service practice. Standard practice designed to hide specific types of incidents, Patrice corrected. To protect specific people. To maintain specific power structures. The fountain burbled behind them, its white noise masking their conversation from other hotel guests. Simone looked at her tablet, at Patrice's notebooks, at the growing web of evidence. The discrimination wasn't random or personal. It was systematic, calculated, built into the very tools meant to prevent it. The conference room's neutral beige walls and generic artwork screamed corporate mediation. Simone Hart stood beside her attorney, Rachel Torres, while sunlight spilled through vertical blinds. The door opened with practiced smoothness as Mara Klein entered, followed by James Whitmore, the airline's executive vice president of operations. Dr. Hart, Whitmore said, extending his hand, we appreciate your willingness to meet informally. Simone shook his hand firmly but briefly. She'd seen his type before, executives who confused courtesy with concession. My concerns require formal resolution, Mr. Whitmore. Of course, of course. He gestured to the conference table. Shall we? They settled into ergonomic chairs, legal pads aligned like battle lines. Mara's smile remained professionally fixed, but her eyes kept darting to Simone's tablet. We've prepared a statement, Whitmore began, sliding copies across the table. One that acknowledges our shortcomings while outlining concrete steps forward. Simone read carefully. The language was precise. The airline recognizes incidents of bias, commits to enhanced training, values diversity and inclusion. Her attorney made small notes in the margins. It's a start, Simone said finally. But acknowledgement without enforcement is theater. We're prepared to implement significant reforms, Mara interjected smoothly. A comprehensive review of our service culture. Monitored by whom? Simone's question cut through the corporate speak. Who verifies compliance? Who protects whistleblowers? Where are the deadlines? Dr. Hart, Whitmore leaned forward. We're offering transparency. No, Simone corrected. You're offering visibility. I want verification. third-party monitoring of complaint processes, protected reporting channels that can't be buried, clear timelines for implementation, with penalties for missed deadlines. Rachel Torres pulled out a document of their own. We've drafted a preliminary compliance framework, one that respects both operational needs and accountability requirements. Mara's smile flickered as she scanned the document. This is quite detailed. It has to be, Simone replied. Vague commitments enable vague results. The next hour dissolved into careful negotiation. Simone watched Whitmore and Mara exchange subtle glances as specific terms were discussed. Independent auditors, mandatory reporting thresholds, protection for employees who spoke up. Finally, Mara uncapped her pen. With these revisions, I believe we can move forward as partners in progress. She signed the preliminary agreement with a flourish. Whitmore nodded approvingly. This demonstrates our commitment to real change, Dr. Hart. We look forward to working together. Simone maintained her composure, but relief flickered through her chest. Perhaps the system could be reformed from within, after all. That relief lasted exactly 27 minutes. Her phone buzzed as she walked through the terminal. A news alert from the airline's PR feed. She opened it and felt ice spread through her veins. The airline's public statement bore little resemblance to what they'd just signed. An unfortunate service mishap had been unnecessarily escalated. They regretted that a valued customer had leveraged financial influence to interfere with operations. Her phone buzzed again. The board chairman. Simone, our stock dropped 3 points on rumors of contract instability, he said without preamble. Institutional investors are nervous. The airline is actively undermining. They're a major client. This needs to de-escalate immediately. His tone hardened. Find a way to end this quietly. She ended the call and opened her encrypted messaging app. No new contact from the anonymous leaker who'd sent the crew chat screenshots. Just silence. Her phone rang again. Greer. They got to Jessica, he said grimly. Jessica Martinez had been one of the former flight attendants who'd agreed to testify about past incidents. Someone called her last night, said her new airline might have concerns about hiring troublemakers. Simone's jaw tightened. Did she record the call? No, but she's spooked. Says she can't risk her career. Back in her hotel room, Simone opened her firm's audit dashboard. She'd set up alerts to track any changes to complaint records or classification codes. Red flags filled the screen. Access logs were being systematically scrubbed. Complaint categories reorganized. Document retention policies suddenly updated. Someone with high-level credentials was methodically erasing the digital trail. She watched in real time as timestamps vanished and file permissions changed. The institution was closing ranks, using its full weight to bury evidence and protect itself. Her tablet chimed with another news alert. A source close to the situation suggested she was pursuing a personal vendetta and damaging labor relations. The false summit had crumbled completely. This wasn't just about a wine stain or a cruel crew anymore. The entire machine was moving to crush her, using its most potent weapons, bureaucracy, deniability, and the slow assassination of truth. Simone stood at her hotel window, watching planes taxi through the gathering dusk. They'd expected her to accept a settlement and go away quietly. When that failed, they'd pretended to negotiate. Now, they were showing their real power, the ability to rewrite reality itself. The screen of her tablet continued to flash with alerts as more records disappeared into the institutional void. A soft knock echoed through Simone's hotel room at 11:42 p.m. Through the peephole, Captain Elena Rios stood in civilian clothes, her uniform jacket draped over her arm. Her shoulders were tight with exhaustion, but her stance held purpose. Simone opened the door. Captain Rios. Dr. Hart. Elena's voice was quiet, but firm. May I come in? Simone gestured to the small sitting area where her laptop and tablets created a makeshift command center. Papers and legal documents covered the coffee table, each one carefully arranged in chronological order. Elena sat on the edge of an armchair, clutching a leather portfolio. They called me into a meeting this afternoon. Corporate wanted me to— She paused, choosing her words. To keep it simple in my incident report. Simple how? Simone asked, though she already knew. They handed me a pre-written statement. Said it would streamline the process. Elena's fingers tightened on the portfolio. It mentioned moderate turbulence during boarding. Claimed the spill was unavoidable. But there was no turbulence, Simone stated. No. Elena opened the portfolio and removed several papers. Here's my actual cockpit log. Weather was clear, wind at 3 knots. We were parked at the gate with the bridge attached. The cabin was still in boarding configuration. Seatbelt signs off. Galley carts supposed to be secured. Simone accepted the documents, noting the official timestamps and Elena's signature. They asked you to lie. They suggested I minimize complications. Elena's jaw tightened. I've spent 23 years building a safety record. I won't tarnish it now. This puts you at risk, Simone observed. Maybe, but I had a flight instructor who said something I never forgot. In aviation, truth isn't optional. Lives depend on honest reporting. Elena met Simone's eyes. The same applies here. Different kind of safety. Same principle. Simone carefully added the log to her evidence file. Thank you, Captain. There's more. Elena lowered her voice. I overheard Marcus Reeves, one of our security supervisors, talking about body cam footage from the jet bridge. Corporate's trying to classify it as restricted under some internal policy. But it exists. Simone immediately reached for her phone, sending a rapid text to her attorney. We'll update the evidence preservation order to include security contractors and gate operations. They'll fight it, Elena warned. They'll try. Simone's phone buzzed, her sister Naomi calling. Excuse me, I need to take this. Of course, Elena stood. I should go before anyone notices I'm here. Captain? Simone covered the phone's microphone. Why did you really come forward? Elena paused at the door. Because I've watched too many incidents get buried. Sometimes being professional means being honest, even when it costs you. After Elena left, Simone answered Naomi's call. Hey, sis. You're still up, aren't you? Naomi's voice carried warmth and worry. Tell me you've eaten something today. I had. Simone glanced at a forgotten sandwich on the desk. Recently. Simone. It was amazing how much meaning Naomi could pack into 2 syllables. You're fighting a system, not running a sprint. You need fuel. They're destroying evidence, Naomi. Every hour counts. I know, but you don't have to match their panic. You've never needed drama to win. You just need to be thorough. Naomi's tone softened. You don't have to be loud to be unstoppable. Simone felt her shoulders relax slightly. When did you get so wise? Oh, around the time you were building your first spreadsheet to track neighborhood ice cream truck patterns? Naomi chuckled. You've always fought smart, not angry. Don't stop now. After hanging up, Simone sent a message to Rachel Torres, her attorney. Within minutes, they were on a secure video call with the legal team. The captain's log is gold, Rachel said. And if body cam footage exists, they can't accidentally lose it now that we know about it. I'm drafting an expanded evidence hold. Good. Simone checked her tablet. What about the regulator notification? Ready to file. The certification requirements are clear. Any pattern of falsified safety reports triggers automatic review. Rachel's smile was sharp. They can't bury this without risking their operating authority. Another message popped up. Lawson Greer. Got 2 more flight attendants willing to sign statements. Meeting them at 7 a.m. Simone checked the time. 12:37 a.m. Evidence decay happened fast in cases like this. Corporate would be working through the night to sanitize records and pressure witnesses, but she had something they didn't. A network of people choosing truth over convenience. She opened her secure document system and began drafting the final notice. Not a threat, not an ultimatum. Just clear, irrefutable facts. Independent audit to commence at 0600 hours. Full access required to all systems and records. Non-compliance will trigger immediate certification review. All findings to be submitted to regulatory authorities. She added Captain Rios's log as an attachment. Then the sworn statements they already had. The timestamp would show corporate exactly how much evidence she'd gathered while they were busy rewriting history. Simone's finger hovered over the send button. The next few hours would determine whether the airline faced its failures or doubled down on deception. Either way, dawn would bring consequences. The notice went out at 12:52 a.m. No emotional language, no warnings. Just the machinery of accountability beginning to turn. The first hints of sunrise painted the airport's eastern windows as Simone Hart strode through the quiet terminal. Beside her, Patrice Yarrow's heels clicked against the polished floor, while Rachel Torres, Simone's attorney, carried a leather briefcase filled with legal documents. Their reflections ghosted across darkened shop windows, three women moving with quiet purpose before the morning rush. Third floor, Patrice murmured, gesturing to a discreet elevator marked Authorized Personnel Only. Airport security maintains a separate facility from airline operations. Less chance of interference. The security suite occupied a corner of the building with clear sightlines across the tarmac. A receptionist buzzed them through heavy doors into an area filled with monitors and filing cabinets. The morning shift supervisor, a man named Dennis Walsh, met them with a practiced smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Dr. Hart," he gestured to a conference room. "We received your request regarding footage from yesterday's incident, but I'm afraid there may be some difficulty accessing those files at present." Simone settled into a chair, keeping her expression neutral. "Difficulty?" "Technical issues with our archive system." Walsh spread his hands. "And of course, there are privacy protocols to consider when Section 17.3 of your contractor agreement requires retention of all security footage for 90 days, Simone interrupted calmly. Subsection B specifically covers incidents involving passenger safety or crew conduct. Rachel opened her briefcase and removed a document. "I have the relevant clauses here, including the spoliation penalties that apply if evidence is altered or destroyed." Walsh's smile tightened. "No one's destroying anything. But these processes take time." The footage was accessed at 11:42 p.m. last night from Terminal SCS-7 in this facility, Simone stated, checking her tablet. "Our system logs show the file hash changed 8 minutes later, suggesting attempted modification." Patrice leaned forward, studying a form on Walsh's desk. Her eyes narrowed at a notation in the corner. HC7 pending review. "That's an internal code," she said quietly. "It means hold for PR clearance. They're waiting for the airline to approve release." Walsh's face flushed. "Ms. Yarrow, you no longer have authorization to—" "Chain of custody," Simone cut in. "We need the access logs and raw file hash from initial capture. Now. Or we can discuss willful evidence tampering with the FAA," Rachel added, pulling out another form. "I have their direct line." A knock at the door made Walsh jump. Lawson Greer entered with a younger woman in a crisp blazer, Janelle Pierce, former flight attendant. Her expression was nervous, but determined. "Sorry we're early," Greer said. "But Ms. Pierce's statement might be relevant to this discussion." Janelle stepped forward. "I worked with Renee Daly for 3 years. This wasn't the first time she's done something like this." Walsh held up his hands. "We're discussing security footage, not crew complaints." "She filmed it," Janelle continued. "She always films it. That's part of the game. Getting reaction shots of passengers she humiliates. She shares them in private crew groups, laughs about it later." Rachel already had a recorder running. "Ms. Pierce, would you be willing to make that statement under oath?" "Yes." Janelle's voice steadied. "I have screenshots saved from when I reported her last year. Nothing happened then. But I'm not staying quiet anymore." Simone turned back to Walsh, who had grown increasingly pale. "The unaltered footage, now. Or we begin immediate proceedings for breach of contract and evidence tampering. Walsh's resistance crumbled. He typed rapidly at his computer, then picked up his phone. Send Miller up with a secure drive. Full transfer, no redactions. He looked at Simone. Will release to third-party escrow, as requested. But this isn't standard procedure. Neither is modifying evidence, Simone replied evenly. 10 minutes later, a tech arrived with an encrypted drive. They watched as he transferred the raw files, verifying hash values matched the original capture. Rachel documented each step, while Patrice took detailed notes. Finally, the footage began to play on the conference room's secure monitor. The camera angle showed the jet bridge clearly, including the aircraft door and forward cabin area. The timestamp matched Simone's incident log exactly. They watched Renee Daly position herself, wine bottle tilted at an unnatural angle. Behind her, Ty Vance shifted to get a better view, phone held low and casual. But recording. The spill itself was deliberate, practiced. Red wine splashed across Simone's white silk blouse, while crew members smirked in the background. The audio was crisp, Renee's fake gasp, Ty's barely suppressed laughter, and the distinct sound of a phone camera clicking. Most damning was a whispered exchange caught by the bridge camera's sensitive microphone. Got it? Perfect shot. Wait till the group sees this one. Simone watched her past self remain calm on screen, dabbing at the spreading stain while Renee performed concern for her audience. The contrast between the flight attendant's sugary words and her satisfied expression was stark. Stop there, Rachel instructed the tech. We'll need certified copies and verification of the audio transcript. Walsh nodded quickly, eager to conclude the interaction. We'll have everything prepared within the hour, including access logs and modification attempts, Simone reminded him. Yes, of course. He wiped his forehead with a handkerchief. Will there be anything else? Simone studied the frozen image on the screen. The moment of impact. Wine spreading across white silk, while phones recorded her humiliation for entertainment. She thought of other passengers who might have faced similar treatment, their dignity sacrificed for crew amusement. Simone's hotel suite transformed into a tactical command center as afternoon light filtered through the windows. Her tech lead, Marcus Wong, had commandeered the dining table, spreading 3 laptops across its surface. Rachel Torres arranged legal documents with military precision, while Patrice Yarrow pinned timeline notes to a makeshift evidence board created from hotel notepaper. All right, let's overlay everything, Simone directed, standing at the center of their operation. Start with the security footage timestamps. Captain Rios's voice came clearly through the speakerphone. I'm sending the cockpit communications log now. It confirms no turbulence reports within 2 hours of the incident. Marcus typed rapidly, pulling up multiple windows. I've got the system audit trails here. Watch this. He projected his screen onto the suite's wall-mounted TV. These are normal complaint routing patterns from last month. Colored lines showed clear paths through various departments. But 3 weeks ago, he advanced the timeline. See how the paths change? Patrice moved closer to the screen. They're all feeding into customer relations now. Nothing goes to independent review. Exactly, Marcus confirmed. Someone modified the reporting module to remove the automatic escalation flag for harassment complaints. That's a Class 2 change. It required executive sign-off. Rachel made a note. We can subpoena those approval records. Won't need to, Marcus replied. The system maintains its own verification chain. Here, he pulled up a new window. Digital signatures, timestamps, and approver IDs. 3 levels of management had to authorize this change. Simone studied the data. When did they implement the modification? 2 days after the new diversity campaign launched, Patrice noted dryly. Interesting timing. Greer, who had been quietly reviewing witness statements, looked up. Janelle Pierce wasn't the only one who tried reporting Renee Daly. I've got 3 more former crew members willing to go on record about similar incidents. Document everything, Simone instructed. No accusations, no emotional language. Just facts, dates, times, witnesses, and evidence chain. Rachel nodded. I'm preparing the certification challenge. Once filed, they have 48 hours to submit to external review or risk losing operational compliance. A sharp knock at the door interrupted them. Marcus quickly minimized his screens as Simone answered it. Mara Klein stood in the hallway, holding a thick envelope. Dr. Hart, may we speak privately? Anything you need to say can be said here, Simone replied, leaving the door open. Mara's practiced smile flickered. We're prepared to offer a significantly enhanced settlement. 7 figures, plus a mutual non-disparagement agreement that protects both parties' interests. You mean silence both parties, Simone corrected. This situation has become unnecessarily adversarial, Mara pressed. We're offering a clean resolution that compensates you generously while avoiding prolonged conflict. I'm not interested in compensation, Simone stated. I want systemic changes that protect future passengers and employees from harassment. Dr. Hart, surely we can find a reasonable compromise? Like modifying the reporting system to bury complaints? Simone asked quietly. That kind of compromise? Mara's smile vanished. I don't know what you're implying. We have the modification logs, Ms. Klein, with executive approvals. Simone held her gaze. Would you like to see them? Without waiting for a response, she turned to Greer. Make that call to the journalist now. Greer pulled out his phone. Sarah Reeves? She's solid. Focuses on institutional accountability, not sensationalism. Known for fact-checking everything thoroughly. Mara took a step forward. Any disclosure of internal systems would violate. Federal whistleblower protections supersede NDAs when public safety is involved, Rachel interrupted, not looking up from her documents. As your legal department well knows. Simone returned to the evidence board. You can go now, Ms. Klein. We'll proceed through official channels. After Mara left, Marcus resumed displaying the data streams. Everything's verified and backed up to secure servers. They can't bury this electronically. Captain Rios, Simone called toward the speaker. Are you still there? Yes, and I've got 2 other captains willing to confirm they received similar instructions about streamlining incident reports. Patrice finished arranging the timeline. The pattern's clear now. They launched the public diversity campaign while simultaneously creating technical barriers to actual accountability. Simone nodded. Rachel, is the regulatory filing ready? Just needs your signature. This triggers an automatic compliance review. They can't decline without risking their operational certifications. Greer ended his phone call. Sarah Reeves can meet in an hour. She'll bring her fact-checker. Good. Simone reviewed the evidence board one final time. Every item was documented, verified, and preserved with clear chain of custody. No emotional accusations, no personal attacks, just methodical exposure of institutional failure. She turned to Marcus. Show me the notification portal. He pulled up a secure browser window. The cursor blinked next to the Submit button that would initiate the regulatory review. This was the point of no return, the moment of private humiliation would become an unavoidable institutional reckoning. Simone thought of other passengers who might face similar treatment, of employees pressured into silence, of carefully crafted corporate campaigns that masked systemic discrimination. Her hand moved to the mouse. She pressed Send. The press room hummed with tension as journalists settled into their seats. Camera shutters clicked rapidly, capturing the stark contrast between Simone Hart's composed presence at the podium and the airline executive's brittle smiles behind her. Rachel Torres, Simone's attorney, arranged documents with practiced efficiency, while reporters leaned forward, tablets ready. Thank you for coming, Simone began, her voice steady and clear. I'm here to present verified evidence regarding an incident that occurred on Flight 23117 and the subsequent institutional response. She gestured to the large screen behind her as Marcus began the presentation. First, the gate configuration data. The display showed a technical diagram with timestamps. At 2:47 p.m., the aircraft was fully docked, stairs secured, with no recorded movement or turbulence. Rachel distributed packets to the press pool. You'll find the complete timeline in your materials with chain of custody verification for all documents. The uncut security footage played next. The camera's high angle captured everything. Renee Daly's deliberate positioning, the calculated tilt of the wine bottle, Ty Vance's anticipatory smirk, and a third crew member holding a phone low, already recording. The audio was crisp, their laughter unmistakable. The cockpit log, Simone continued, confirms standard gate operations with no mechanical or weather-related disturbances. She paused as the relevant entries appeared on screen. Captain Elena Rios has provided a sworn statement regarding operational conditions. A murmur rippled through the room as the evidence mounted. Witness statements scrolled past, each one methodically corroborating the timeline. But it was the system audit data that caused the airline executives to shift uncomfortably in their seats. 3 weeks ago, Simone explained, pointing to highlighted entries, the airline's complaint reporting module was modified. This change effectively buried harassment reports by rerouting them away from independent review. Mara Klein started to stand, but the airline's lead counsel gripped her arm, keeping her seated. The damage was already done. The data trails were irrefutable. "I have something to add," a clear voice called from the back of the room. A young man in a pressed shirt stood up, hands steady despite the attention suddenly focused on him. "My name is Devin Sato. I'm a senior IT analyst for the airline, and I was the one who sent the initial screenshots." Mara finally broke free of her counsel's restraining hand. "This is a violation of confidentiality." "Actually," Rachel interrupted smoothly, "Mr. Sato's disclosure is protected under whistleblower statutes, as he's reporting demonstrable safety and civil rights violations." She held up a file. "We have his signed affidavit and supporting documentation already filed with appropriate authorities." Devin walked to the front of the room, his tablet displaying authenticated screenshots from the crew's private chat. "The incident was planned in advance," he stated, bringing up time-stamped messages. "They called it content creation and discussed previous, similar activities. The messages appeared on the main screen. Renee's words were damning. Look for someone who looks important but won't fight back. Better reaction shots that way." Ty's response, "Like last month with that old lady?" "Classic!" Simone maintained her composure as gasps and mutters filled the room. "Captain Rios has provided a statement, which will now be read in full." Rachel stepped forward with the document. Her clear recitation of Rios's precise, procedure-focused testimony left no room for emotional interpretation. The captain's words were clinical, focusing on safety protocols, crew behavior standards, and the documented absence of any operational issues that could have caused the incident. Phones began lighting up across the room as social media shifted. The viral narrative of the angry executive crumbled as evidence mounted. Comments sections that had been filled with mockery now overflowed with apologetic passengers who'd witnessed similar incidents but stayed silent. A side door opened, and the airline's board chairman stepped in, face grave. He whispered briefly to their counsel before approaching the podium. "In light of this evidence, the airline is announcing immediate administrative action. Ms. Klein will be placed on leave pending review. We are initiating an emergency cultural assessment under independent oversight." Mara's practiced composure finally cracked. "This is a coordinated attack on—" "Ms. Klein," the chairman cut in, "please exit through the side door. Your badge access has been suspended." Movement at the back of the room drew attention. Security personnel were escorting Renee Daly and Ty Vance toward a side exit. Renee's earlier smugness had vanished, replaced by tight-lipped anger. Ty tried to smile at the cameras, but it came out as a grimace. Simone watched silently as they were led out. No laughter now, no jokes, no playing to an audience, just the heavy weight of consequences they couldn't charm their way around. "The evidence packets contain additional documentation," Rachel announced to the press pool, "including historical complaint data and verification procedures for all materials presented. We'll now take questions, focusing on factual and procedural matters." Hands shot up across the room as reporters processed the scale of what they'd witnessed. But Simone remained focused on one small detail: a gate agent in the back of the room dabbing her eyes, finally seeing justice for incidents she'd been too afraid to report. Simone Hart's heels clicked steadily against the terminal floor as she approached Gate C4. The same illuminated signs glowed overhead, but everything felt different now. She paused at the spot where it had all begun, remembering the wine seeping into her silk blouse, the cruel laughter, the moment she chose to fight back with precision instead of rage. A cleaning crew worked efficiently nearby, their movements respectful as they recognized her. One woman straightened and gave a small nod. News traveled fast in airports, and today's press conference had changed more than just policies. Naomi appeared at her side, squeezing her hand. "You did it, sis. Not with noise, but with truth." "We did it," Simone corrected, thinking of everyone who'd stepped forward. "Change needs witnesses." Rachel Torres approached with a leather portfolio, her expression satisfied. "The airline's board just signed off on everything. Full compliance, no exceptions." She opened the folder, revealing documents with fresh signatures. "Third-party monitoring begins next week. The protected complaint pipeline goes live in 72 hours. And look," she pointed to a specific clause, "employment status now explicitly tied to conduct accountability. No more hiding behind transfers or quiet settlements." "The restitution fund?" Simone asked. $5 million initial deposit, Rachel confirmed. "Independent oversight, transparent criteria. Past victims can file claims retroactively." They watched as airline staff posted updated conduct policies at the gate counter. The language was clear, specific, and backed by real consequences. No more vague promises or toothless pledges. A text notification lit up Simone's phone. Mara Klein's termination was official. The HR executive's falsified reports had sealed her fate. Lying about turbulence that never happened, trying to bury evidence of systematic harassment. An operations vice president had also submitted his resignation after regulators questioned his role in modifying the complaint system. "Renee Daly and Ty Vance?" Simone asked. "Terminated with cause," Rachel replied. "The staged prank is now a documented misconduct case. They're barred from rehire across affiliated carriers. Their union declined to contest it after seeing the evidence." Devon Sato emerged from an office nearby, looking tired but relieved. His whistleblower protection agreement was in place, guaranteeing his position and preventing retaliation. He'd already begun training other IT staff on the new transparent reporting protocols. "Thank you," Simone told him quietly. "Speaking up matters." "You showed us how," Devon replied. "Stand firm, stay focused, use the system to fix the system." Lawson Greer appeared, walking steadily with his cane, dignity radiating from his bearing. The airline had formally thanked him for serving as a witness, acknowledging that his experience as a former union representative had lent crucial credibility to the investigation. "Captain Rios called," he reported. "She's on temporary assignment during the transition, but there's strong public support for her reinstatement. Pilots' Union is backing her for following proper safety protocols." Simone nodded, remembering Elena's quiet courage in submitting an honest report when pressure mounted to stay silent. She chose right over easy. That matters. A notification from Simone's firm appeared on her tablet. Their certification contract had been expanded, making their audit platform the new industry standard for transparent reporting. Airlines across the country were already inquiring about implementing similar systems. "Your brother would be proud," Naomi said softly. "This is why he always said you were the quiet steel in the family." Simone touched the tablet where her company's logo glowed. After losing him to a preventable transit accident, she'd built her firm to enforce accountability through technology. Today proved the power of systems over spectacle. A young gate agent approached hesitantly, holding a garment bag. Simone recognized her immediately, the one who'd lent her a clean blouse after the incident. "Ms. Hart?" The agent's voice was steady now, her spine straighter. I wanted to return this after cleaning and... Thank you. You made them see us. Really see us. What's your name? Simone asked. Maria Torres. I've worked this gate for 3 years. Keep watching, Maria. Keep reporting. The system works now because people like you refuse to look away. Other airport staff gathered quietly nearby, their presence a testament to rippling change. A flight attendant trainee who'd witnessed Renee's cruelty now stood confident in her right to speak up. A baggage handler who'd endured similar pranks held documentation for the restitution fund. Sunlight streamed through the terminal's high windows, catching the wings of a plane taxiing past. Simone thought about all the passengers who would board that aircraft and others, protected now by more than just promises. Her victory wasn't measured in viral moments or trending hashtags. It lived in strengthened policies, protected whistleblowers, mandatory accountability, and transparent systems that gave teeth to truth. She hadn't needed to shout to shake the foundations. She'd used evidence, procedure, and unwavering focus to transform a moment of humiliation into lasting institutional change. Ready? Naomi asked, gesturing toward the exit where their car waited. Simone took a final look at Gate C4, remembering Renee's smirk, the wine stain, the laughter that had backfired. Justice didn't always announce itself with fanfare. Sometimes it arrived in documentation, signatures, and systems that worked exactly as designed. If you enjoyed the story, leave a like to support my channel and subscribe so that you do not miss out on the next one. On the screen, I have picked 2 special stories just for you. Have a wonderful day.